Because
it wasn't adding up.
We can't even believe her voice. Because did y'all see how her voice changed?
She got a little bass in that voice.
She went from talking like this to sit your behind down before I make change. I was like, dude, her voice went from here to here. All right, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
This is Conversations with the Crawleys. We do conversations about faith, family, relationships, and we do recaps, reviews, and commentaries on our favorite shows. This one is all about the OG and the reunion special of Ready to Love in Miami. So, you know what to do by now. Hit that subscribe, hit the like, request notifications.
And share.
We'll see you in the comments. Consider becoming a member and checking out the merch store. All right. So, Tommy comes out. He had a white suit on, didn't he?
It was cream.
Okay.
And he had like a light cream sweater on it. I was feeling the swag.
Okay.
I was feeling the swag.
But
so, yeah.
Tommy sitting down with most of the cast because there was at least one that we noticed was not there.
Right.
And then some people that were like, they were just silent participants sitting over on the side.
Wearing their prom dress.
Yes. So it kicks off with kind of a discussion of the second chance token that they had this year as far as the twist that Tommy had. I don't know that they should use that again.
I think they should, because it gives the kind of suspense. Can someone get a second opportunity? And the controversy came in when the men didn't use it at all. Like they thought they had forever to use it.
Right.
And at some point he did take it away. And they were like, well, you could have saved me. Why didn't you save me? So
save me, Seymour, save me.
So I think that they should keep it.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see. Because I forgot where the next season I saw. I think it's Dallas. I saw.
Oh, it's going to Dallas.
I think. I don't know. If you all know where it's going next, let us know. They may even make an announcement at the end of this one after the second reunion. So we'll see.
Have they ever been in LA?
No.
You should go Cali.
They've just done Atlanta, Houston, and DC, and now Miami. So mostly Midwest and the East Coast. Yeah.
They should try.
Or
maybe they should go to Chicago. Ooh.
Yeah, that might be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
That might be interesting to do a Chicago season.
To do Chicago?
Might be interesting.
If you could do DC, you could do Chicago.
Yeah.
You gonna get some interesting.
Yeah, you know some interesting folks. Y'all done heard me talk about South Side versus West Side, so y'all gonna get some interesting folks.
You know, when you in a relationship from somebody from Chicago, that's a little different.
Your life is upgraded when you do with somebody from Chicago.
Okay.
That's how we do this.
Okay, you say so.
I've expanded your palate too.
Ooh, okay.
You know about Harold sauce because of. You know about Garrett's popcorn because of. You know about Giordano's deep dish pizza because of.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I mean, you did bring the mambo sauce from DC to the table.
Thank you.
I'll give you that.
I'll
give you that.
5-minute service. Everything happens. Chinese food carry out 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Full cooked turkey, 10 minutes. Everything takes 10 minutes at a Chinese food spot in DC. All right, but anyway, back to the recap. So Jeffrey, they do kind of a Jeffrey recap of, all of her twists and turns and what have you. Y'all remember DeMario was turned off because she kissed up on Mark Anthony. He was like, I was disgusted. So they do ask what made Andre stand out, and she pauses. She's like,
oh, okay. So he ain't the biblical husband no more. He no longer the biblical husband.
Her biblical husband was all good until she found out about Revelations. Until they got to Revelations. So, yeah.
Oh my God.
So she says she did not hear from Andre afterwards.
She never answered the question, did she?
Right, because Tommy was like, y'all killing me with these pauses. These pauses is telling me everything. I don't know if y'all noticed. And so she does say that he didn't follow up afterwards. And then Andre was like, I feel like I'm being attacked.
Andre. And everybody, even the audience,
the other cast member was like, attack? What?
Attack?
Wait, what?
What are you talking about?
So then he says, okay, there are some flags that he could not address during the show. And Jeffrey's like, yeah, he talking about my kids. No, he ain't talking about your kids. He talking about your baby daddies. And so he basically is like, the fact that you have children by two different guys, mm-hmm. and they're not in your life, mm-hmm. the common denominator is you. So what's going on with that? What have you? Then Jeffrey says, well, all black men do this.
And everybody was like, whoa, slow your roll.
I'm sorry.
No, they do not. And then the women were trying to help her out. She's like, well, in her experience. But she's not saying in her experience. Mm-mm. And so then there's like, and then the men chime in is like, you ain't going to do us like this. Because all black men are not like this. Because there's other men that are in this process who have children who, for what we see, are at least engaged with their children's life. We never see their children, but they're talking about how important they are, or they want to make sure that they're finding somebody that could connect with them, what have you. So to make the statement that black men do this all the time, no, sorry, I'm calling BS on that. No. Okay. And so Tommy was like, okay, we can say some men, or if you want to be specific on who you date, some black men, mm-hmm. but we're not going to put everyone. We're not going to paint with a wide brush here. Mm-mm. We're not doing this, and this is not about men and women. This is about Jeffrey and your relationship. Right. And because he makes a statement. He makes a statement that he has no issues with kids because Andre says that he's dated women with kids before. Because he's in that age range. Right. He's in his mid to late 30s. And most of the women you're going to date, not all, but majority of them, will have children. Right. So for her to try and make it seem like he has an issue because she has kids, that doesn't bear out truth. The issue is, and I believe him, because we have the same concern or same thought, is like, neither one of them are in there. So that means that maybe your choices of who you decided to gift a child to was bad. Acknowledge that. Own that. Okay? Right. Well, he was making the assumption that maybe she was keeping the children away from the men. Right. And so I don't know how he comes up with that, but he says what she did explain, he couldn't believe her. Now, he's the one that's seen her pretty often, right? Through this process. Yep. Or talking to her through this process. So I would assume that he would have a better understanding of her, that he couldn't believe what she was saying. Because it wasn't adding up. We can't even believe her voice. Because did y'all see how her voice changed? She got a blue bass in that voice. She went from talking like this to, sit your behind down before I make change. I was like, dude. Her voice went from head to head. She started putting a little bass in that voice. I was like, dude. Because if you truly speak... If I can't believe your voice, why should I believe what you say with your voice? Because if you truly speak like that, and some people who have tiny voices, even when they're trying to be loud, it still smells tiny. Right. Like you can tell that they're upset because of what they're saying, but their voice is still small. Nah, she got that bass quick. Oh my God. So then she says, she tells him that he should be grateful to be in her presence. He was like, I don't feel grateful. Nah, I'm good. I don't feel grateful at all. I was like, this is a hot mess. First of all, he should have chose himself. If he was like, you know what? If you had questions, just being honest. Yes. If you had questions concerning the baby daddies, you should have chose yourself. Yep. And say, you know what? I'm just gonna kind of like, I'm not gonna choose them. I'm choosing myself. We can figure things out afterwards. We'll figure things out afterwards. But right now, I got questions. And so if I... Where who? You've been asking questions. So yeah, Andre should have chosen himself because there's too many questions. If you had, we as the audience have. Right. If you really had those questions, then just say, you know what, I choose myself. And then if you wanted to talk to her afterwards and say, hey, let's figure it out. see if we want to continue something on. But right now, I don't want to portray on the cameras that we're going to be together.
Right.
And we're not.
Right. And then in the behind the scenes, or not behind the scenes, but like in the interlude, you see Andre saying like, look, Jeffrey's full of it. She ain't telling truth. She lying. She ain't being honest.
Yeah.
But then you see Morgan over there gassing Jeffrey up.
Right.
All right. So then we get to Corvaya. And if y'all remember, she was the one who was like, she had to be spoiled. So her gold digger montage, right? She says, she tries to clarify and be like, okay, for her, a man has to be a go-getter. Get that?
Why didn't you just say that?
That's a lot different than a man has to spoil you.
Because if he's a go-getter, right, and he loves you, you shouldn't have to ask for anything or ask if a man's going to take care of you or gift you. There's other ways, like, okay, how do you treat your mom? Those are questions like that. What is your love language? And those are things that you can find out if a man is generous.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I don't want him to be generous while we're dating. I would rather say we're going to be in a long-term relationship and you're going to be my husband. Then I want to know long-term how you show your love towards me.
Right. So I just thought about, she is kind of the antithesis of Justice, if you remember last season. Because remember, Justice was the guy that was like, I ain't spending no money on the dates.
Right.
So her and Justice would never connect at all.
Right.
Because Justice like, look, I ain't got to spend money to date you.
Right.
She's like, no, you got to spoil me to date me.
Right.
So.
Right. And Mark Anthony, because they put to the clip, Mark Anthony's like, hold on, you got to earn that. We gotta go beyond a couple of dates for me to be bringing expensive gifts. Right.
So then, because remember, also Corvaya was the one who was basically like, if a man got a roommate, he broke. He ain't worth her time. And Linda was like, I have a roommate, but that don't mean I'm not handling business.
Right.
I have somebody who I live with. We split the bills. Guess what? If I'm splitting bills and I'm bringing in a nice amount of money, I might be stacking stuff up.
And depending on your upbringing, you feel like you're just not going to be spending money to spend money. When you're single, even single people, like, I don't want to even live alone.
Right.
When I could split bills with my buddy and we're cool.
Yep.
At least you have someone to talk to. Someone can watch the house while you're gone.
Yep.
You don't feel like when you're single and you have to leave and go places, you're leaving and paying for stuff, and then you got to pay people to watch stuff. Yep. It works economically. Yep. And I want anyone who's thinking, okay, how can I save money and put it to other places? Because if you want to be spoiled, he got extra money. That would be my thought.
Yep.
To spend it on you.
Yep.
But her perspective is just totally different.
Then there was also something where I guess she had said something to the effect that Lyndon had tried to kiss her. And Linda was like, I ain't trying to kiss you. That ain't happen.
Right.
And guess who mentioned it to Lyndon? Jeffries. All right. So that's pretty much their segment, right? They'll pick up something a little later with them. So then Blue gets a segment, right? And Blue likes exotic animals. He got a monkey.
He had a monkey.
And he had a hairless cat. Yeah. And a hairless cat. Janique.
Short hair cat.
Yes.
Because a hairless cat is totally different.
Okay, same thing. It's a short hair, hairless cat. There we go. All right. So then, Janique is like, Blue seems nice, but, and Tom's like, wait, what do you mean? But you said he seems nice, but what happened? So evidently, what happened was that after Janique was booted off, after she was told she wasn't ready to love, Blue was like, hey, listen here, baby girl. This just means you and I can date a little more. We can hang out a little more. And for whatever reason, she took offense to that.
Right. Well, the reason why she took offense to that is because she found out that Blue didn't want to save her. So she's under the impression that Blue was trying to keep her
from finding love with anybody else.
Right. Except for him.
Right.
So she brings that out. She says, look, I found out he has an opportunity to save me with using the second chance. And he chooses not to, but then he gonna call me on the side. Like, how does he know I'm for him? Why not keep me in the process so I can date around and see if there's other guys? Because you remember, she didn't come at the very beginning.
Right.
She was only like a week or two in.
Right.
You know? So she was upset. She's like, you done changed my dating pool from the whole sea to the blue sea?
Hey.
Nah, homie. You ain't gonna, nah. You ain't that cute.
So, but then we find out Blue does have somebody in his life.
Yes.
Kayla from last season. If you remember Kayla was the one who
was the side chick.
The side chick to Mike and was it Brittany or whatever her name was?
Mm-hmm. That triangle they had.
Yeah, the little triangle they had. Mm-hmm. So she comes out, Kayla comes out. And backstage they're like, whoa, wait, whoa. Somebody was like, is she here really for love, or is she just trying to get some airtime? They were like, no, she here for love.
Mm.
So when that happens, though, Z, and again, Z was probably gone week 2 or something like that. Mm. Z was gone pretty early. Z was like, wait, hold on, what? Y'all?
She's like, okay, so when did this happen? Because me and Blue been kind of like having some conversations on the phone.
And on the stage, they say it's been 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So Z is like, all right, I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna blow up nothing.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put any...
If you know the conversation that we had, I ain't gonna say nothing, but so...
Yeah.
So then, backstage, though, the story changes a little.
Mm-hmm.
Because backstage, Z is like, why you ain't tell me things had gotten to this point? Well, it just got it firmed up within the last month. She's like, okay, but the conversation we had, that wasn't a Kayla involved type of conversation. Okay, I get you. I hear you. I hear you. Wait, what? Blake, I need what? Okay, let me. So yeah.
Yeah.
Also, backstage, we see Mercedes and Mark Anthony hugged up. So it seems like they're still, at least, we'll probably get more of their story next.
Hopefully.
In the next one.
Well, okay, let's just talk about this.
Okay.
I'm like, I mean, does that seem like her type?
Kayla, does Blue seem like her type?
How we go from, we had a guy that was a personal trainer. We had Mike,
mm-hmm.
who owned his own business, but looked like he picks up trucks for a living, like literally.
Okay.
To Blue. So it's like, I don't see a type. I mean, like. Well,
she doesn't, from those 3 options, she doesn't really seem to have a type.
That's what it sounds like so far.
Right? She doesn't, or at least she's not sticking to a certain type, right? Because she, at least, if we go back to her season, she did have a few different potentials.
Before it got down. Everyone kind of liked her at the beginning.
Before it got down to, because even I think Zoe was in the picture last season, right? So before it got down to Randall and Mike last season. So if we were looking at that and saying which one would be her type, it's hard to tell.
Yeah,
right?
It's hard to tell.
She seemed to have more affinity towards Mike, or at least a will they won't they with Mike.
Right.
But Randall was the one that she probably had the better relationship with, if you will. Or better opportunity with.
But based off of that, you would think, in the conversation she had with her friend that came to met Mike, that Mike was kind of like her type.
Right.
So I would have think that her type is kind of muscular, dark skin, bearded black men.
Okay.
And Blue really doesn't fit that type.
It doesn't fit that. And as far as personality, as far as what we've seen from Blue.
Correct.
Blue seems very laid back.
Very laid back.
Blue is very chill.
Very laid back.
Which doesn't seem to mesh.
No. So, and then that's where it would come in. Is like, is she here for airtime? Because if you are dating them, why do you have to show up for Blue to say that you're in a relationship with Kayla?
Because, oh yeah, well, but
she doesn't have to show up.
True. I was just thinking, have we had other situations? And yes, we have had other situations where, for example, we find out, not during the taping of it, but we find out recently within the 100th episode of Ready to Love.
Yeah, that's different though. I mean, in the middle of taping the finale.
We have not seen where cast member from season A dates season B. Got it. Yes.
Thank you.
So I think that because they were in Miami, it was pretty much like, hey, Kayla, come on by the studio. Because they might probably gonna hang out after the wrapping of the reunion special anyway. So I can't say she's doing it for airtime.
I'm not saying. I'm just pointing out
it
why
seems a little different.
Why they mentioned it.
Yes.
I'm just pointing out what's being thrown out there in the air.
Okay.
Catch it if you want it.
Then we get a montage on Fabrice.
Fabrice.
Y'all called him Fabrice. And y'all remember Fabrice was the one that was talking sex all the time.
All the time.
He was like, how you doing? So we gonna get something going on or what? So, but he was not able to show up. So they got him on video as far as just coming through. And he said in the interview, he was like, I can't wait to see who hooked up with who. So Fabrice's mind is always just sex, right? But he calls the ladies hypocrites. He's like, y'all know y'all talk about it. So the fact that I'm talking about it, they're like, not like you talking about it, bro.
Right. It's the way he talks about it. It's like you can't have a conversation without talking about it.
Right.
And I don't think every conversation has to be about it.
No.
And he does say again, he's like, I was just trying, we were too stiff.
Yeah.
I was just trying to loosen everybody up. Well, there's other ways to loosen people up because if you know about, because he was trying to say, it's different internationally than in the United States or whatever. So in different countries, they're more sexual or talk about, this is what he's saying.
That's what he's saying.
Than the United States.
Okay.
So if you know that, then why would you think that would loosen people up instead of not make them more tense?
Yes.
So like, whatever, dude.
So
but he is dating.
He says he found love 2 weeks after leaving the show.
Shut up.
That's what he said.
Did he say 2 weeks?
He said 2 weeks after leaving the show, he found somebody. I'm gonna be nice.
Hey.
But DeMario does say that Fabrice, because he kind of co-signs with as far as just how Fabrice responds or acted, because he was like, early on, Fabrice asked him, all right, bro, who you?
Effing. Yeah.
So,
and he's like, who introduces themselves like that? Because he said that was the introduction when he first met him.
Right.
So again, he's not doing it just to the women. That's just how he talks.
Yeah. So, all right. So then we get a montage of Sue, or Susu, as Blake calls her. And, she talks about how her and Blake, they did talk a lot. They connected, talked a lot
at the very beginning.
She says her thing with Anthony was that he just played it safe.
Mm-hmm.
And Blake kind of was at least going for what he wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And they're in a relationship now. Like,
she has clothes over at his house.
They live 10 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey over there looking like...
I'm like, what? Okay, so let's talk about this. Because even Tommy was like, well, how do you feel about being called Advocate Sue?
She's like, I'm a lawyer.
I'm a lawyer. So he's like, hey, that's what I do. I do it for a living.
I'm glad you know that word, Jeffrey.
Yeah. I mean, she was in a high-profile case concerning the young black lady that was killed over in Mexico.
Yeah, because she does work, it looks like, with Benjamin Crump sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So she does advocate. And so she's like, she wasn't calling me. So pretty much she wasn't calling me out of my name.
Right.
She was calling me what I do. And so, but I don't get it why Jeffrey still had an attitude. Because if you weren't trying to mess up what Sue was having on with Blake.
And if you're done with Blake, you don't want Blake.
You don't want Blake. And then whatever you may personally have with her, why are you upset that she ended up with Blake?
So hopefully in part 2 of this reunion special, hopefully they'll dig into that, because that was a major thing.
About Blake.
About Blake and her saying that Blake had already chosen her, and Jeffrey saying that Blake had already chosen her, and what have you, wanted to self-eliminate and then go away together. So that has to be dealt with. And so hopefully they'll address that in the part 2 of this. But yeah, Jeffrey having an issue with Sue and Blake tells me a lot about Jeffrey anyway. So that was enough of them. Then we get into the Lyndon, Tony, Morgan triangle. And she says that Lyndon is unique. Earlier she called him a unicorn.
Yeah, he didn't seem anything unique to me. I mean, he seemed like a guy who works at night in the entertainment. Okay, but maybe to her, maybe because she hasn't had a lot of people that were maybe honest with her.
I guess so.
Maybe that's what it was.
Or that treated her maybe better than she's been treated before.
That's possible. That's possible.
Because her thing with Tony, she said Tony was aggressive about her. So the one that was aggressive about her was the one who got her attention, but the one who was like, look, I'm feeling you. So Tony says Lyndon broke the bro code.
And Blue was like, was there a bro code?
Like, what are you talking about, bro code? We in a competition, y'all. We not bros, we just met.
Right.
So if I'm in competition with you
for the same girl,
for the same person, that's not a bro code. Bro code is, I'm not going to necessarily share secrets or share stuff just to blow your spot up, right?
But at the same time, I ain't going to make you, I'm not going to be looked down.
I'm not going to be punked out either.
Right.
Okay. Lyndon says that there was one Tony when Morgan was around, and there was another Tony when Morgan was not around. So he basically was like, look, if I'm going to blow up the bro code, I'm going to let it be known. You shady. You one way when Morgan's around, you a different way when she's not around. And she calls Tony a wild card, right? And says that they kept seeing each other after the show.
Right. So she was saying that she chose herself. Typically when people say they're choosing their self, they go their separate ways. Because we've seen that in past seasons where they chose their self because they just wanted to be friends. There wasn't going to be anything more.
Right. But
she did supposedly still dated him for like 6 weeks or something.
A little bit afterwards. But then Tony's like, well, life happened. Look, I had to get back to work. I had kids. And she was like, you had the job and the kids before. So all of a sudden now that's an issue of us connecting. All of a sudden now we can't connect or date or what have you.
Right. Because she says whatever is important to you, make time for.
And so Morgan starts getting lit. Right.
She started acting like a 78-year-old grandmother. She started pointing her finger. I mean, I can't think of some of the things she says. Like, this is what I hear my grandmother would say.
Listen.
Boy, be quiet.
Hide the nair because Morgan's coming out, right? So she starts to get lit. Tony calls it a toxic attraction, which is a great definition of what they have. It is a toxic attraction. It is toxicity left and right from both of them. Not just on one side. They are toxic together as far as what we can see. And she's like, no, it's not toxic. Then she goes, well, he's not a good person. So why are you fighting over him? Then she goes and says he's a monster, right? And then I forgot who it was. I think it was Mark Anthony. Mark Anthony was like, hey, whoa, let's not use that language. Because again, the challenge is that, yes, because you're angry with the person, do you demean them and make them out to be something that maybe they're not? Is Tony the best person? Probably not. Okay? But to say he's a monster, you need to qualify that and not just throw out stuff that you're saying, right?
Because she's not giving any examples of because when I consider someone being a monster, that means that they have no intellect. They are impulsive.
They are verbally and physically abusive.
Correct.
Or rather, I should say.
Right. And so if you're going to paint him as a monster, that means that he can't stop himself and whatever he wants to do at the time, he's just going to do it.
Right.
And so what people are just trying to put in check, when you use these words, you're not just affecting him.
Right.
You could be affecting his career.
Right.
You could be affecting any networking relationships because I think he's a businessman or something. I'm not sure.
Tax business owner or something.
Yeah. So you could be affecting his money. So that's why Mark Anthony's like, all right,
Pump your brakes.
because don't say something unless you're going to have the receipts to back it up.
Right. But then again, here's my thing. If he's this bad,
I hear you.
why are you fighting over him? Why are you upset that he didn't call you? Why are you upset that he didn't reach out to you?
Well, because I thought she chose herself. So we were applauding her last recap saying, good for Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she came off a little hypocritical because she giving Bible verses pointing to him what he's not doing, but we hear what she wasn't doing as well. Now, maybe that was in her past and maybe she cleaned everything
Because
up.
again, love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not easily provoked. Love doesn't use nair.
Right. So, granted. So when she said she chooses herself, I was like, good. If she's making the decision to choose herself, that means she's letting go of Tony. She's moving on, and she wants to be in a very healthy relationships. Then you turn around and come on the reunion and tell us that y'all was still trying to date. So did you pick you or not? Because you could have said yes to him and still been trying to date.
So she basically leaves the stage because she's tired.
And then he follows her. This is another thing. Then why are you following her? Instead of him sitting there.
Attraction.
Instead of him sitting there like, you know what? She's right. Maybe I wasn't as interested. Because to him, it was a game. And we heard that throughout, that he wanted to beat out London.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he started to hear. When we started hearing that, then it was just like, who's kissing her more? Who's doing this? Mm-hmm. Well, there's no more excitement in the hunt.
Yeah.
Because you're the only one hunting her.
So yes, he goes after her. She is like, look, leave me alone. I want to be left alone. I want to talk to her. I want to just talk to her. So the producer's trying to pull him away. One of the producers, and he's like, I just want to talk to her. So that's pretty much where it cuts off.
Right.
We do get a second part to this reunion, which does look to have more information, more stuff.
Because we haven't even talked about Blake and how they were talking about him.
Right. We haven't really had a conversation to figure out where Cynthia and Anthony are. Mm-hmm. If you look in the clip, their body language
Cynthia's body language looks way off.
Yeah, she's turned away from him. There's
her back towards him.
It'll be interesting to see kind of what it was.
And then Mark Anthony and Mercedes.
Mercedes, yes, we still got to do with them. So still a lot to talk about. So that's it for this one. Let us know what we missed in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. And we'll see you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed.
Bye.